everyone, it's your girl Jaymie, Scorpio AF Astrologer, and today I want to talk about the best way you can take advantage of Venus retrograding in Leo alongside with Mars in transit in Virgo. And this is by connecting with your inner child and your inner spirit, even just giving a little bit of love to your inner teenager as well. So this is very much about celebrating your inner child and having fun with her or him. But also, if you want to heal, this is something that you can do as well. The thing is, oftentimes I find that when it comes to inner child work, it's either very one-dimensional and limited, where it's like connect with your inner child in a way where it's like have fun, and it's not always, it doesn't work for everyone if you have like difficulty with that, or it's recommended in a way where you confront your shadows. And this is very important and stuff, and sometimes people don't focus on that, and when you don't get to the root of the problem, things are just continuing to perpetuate. But with Venus being in the fun, bubbly sign of Leo, which is about celebrating yourself and being inspired and stuff, there's going to be a little bit more of a playfulness energy that I'm going to be recommending. So essentially, this is to say that having Venus, the planet that's about enjoying yourself, indulgences, pleasures, in Leo, which represents children, it's home to the 5th house, it's about your natural talents and stuff. This is a great time to reflect on what are some things that you love to do, some creative joys that you have in your life, and how can you incorporate that back into yourself. What did you enjoy doing as a child? Now, if you're like me and you didn't have any of that fun stuff and you're not really sure where to start, I got you. I have lots and lots of ideas for everyone. But for those of you guys who already know what these things are, find ways to reconnect with that and do things that really inspire you. Because essentially, whether you're familiar with what that is or isn't, you want to give special focus to Venusian themes such as relationships, romantic partnerships, business, your finances, your possessions, things that support you, like your family. This can be your clothes. This could be a lot of different things related to Venus in nature. You want to connect with it, and in a way that energizes you, in a way that makes you feel good. Connect in a way that's very unique to who you are. It's about really reconnecting with what are some ways that you can bring pleasure that feel really good for you. And that looks different for everyone. I feel like with this placement, everyone is really quick to be like, put yourself in the spotlight and have fun and be creative, but not everyone's gonna wanna go and karaoke in front of a big ass crowd, right? This is gonna be different for everyone. For some people, what you find to be indulgent and enjoyable, that makes you feel your best, that gives you a lot of confidence, can actually be staying at home, hyperfixating and researching something that you love for like 8 straight hours. Whatever that is for you, what makes you feel good, work with that. This is also a great time not only to find ways to enjoy things that you love, which is something that I don't think a lot of us have enough time for or prioritize, or we forget, or maybe you don't know what that looks like for you. This is the time to really focus on that right now. And so this, I think, is going to be really beneficial for those of you similar to me if you have a challenged Venus. This is going to be maybe a little bit more difficult. You might have some confusion on how to connect with this placement, in which case there's a couple things that I recommend. And I recommended this before. I also recommend this if your Venus, for example, is in Cancer as well. Use the feeling wheel map. And this is a way where you can connect with your feelings if you're not really sure what that looks like. Another thing that you can do is Google, look at everything that Venus represents, okay? Like for myself, I have a really challenged Venus. So things related to Venus, I have a little bit more difficulty with, but that doesn't mean I have difficulty with everything related to Venus, right? So for me, finances, relationships, these are things that are difficult for me. In my house, Venus represents my mother and my family and my origin story, my relationship with my ancestors. So these are areas that are difficult for me. And this is a way where now, if this is similar, if you experience something similar to this, or your own version of it, this can be a time you can reflect on, well, how can I connect with these things in a way that's going to be more enjoyable? Because if you have a challenged Venus, it might not be like so fun and great, but with this placement, you have more access to that kind of energy. But on the other hand, I have a great relationship with food. I love food, and food is ruled by Venus. So maybe something for you can be enjoying really delicious food, whether it's making food, going to a place and enjoying it, or just elevating things related to food. And this can be something as simple as infusing your water, because you guys, it's hot. Okay, stay safe. In LA, we've had lots of heat warning and stuff like that. So make sure that you stay hydrated. With Venus and Leo, this can look like something as simple as elevating your infused water with lemon slices and cucumber slices and rosemary. There's a lot of delicious food right now that's in season. So this is something that you can connect with. So essentially, I would say pick a topic that feels good for you and work through that. How does that look like? Because Venus is, for example, about creativity, and it also represents Libra. And if you have a hard time connecting with your creativity, or even or just in general, even if you're a naturally creative person, with Venus retrograding, it has less power, about 25%. Maybe it's difficult for you to connect with your creativity, in which case maybe activating this energy one-on-one in a romantic partnership, a friend, someone else, where maybe you can do a creative project together. This is a way that you can work with this energy. Something that I used to do that I really loved, I called it musical painting, and my friends and I, we would get together and we would paint stuff. We would have our own canvas, we'll paint whatever we want, and then whenever the energy, the vibe comes up and there's sort of a stagnation, we swap canvases. And now, originally when I learned this, you're supposed to like dance around with the canvas and stuff like that. It's really cheesy, but you make more connections between your left and right brain hemisphere. And that's why we called it musical painting. And then you swap with another person. And then you finish off and add like to the new canvas that you now have been given. And so the rule is that you can't erase whatever someone has done, but you can add to it, and you add your own personality, your own uniqueness to it, which I think is a very Venus and Leo sort of a thing to do, because Venus is about art and creation and collaborating and stuff, but it's in a way that's very unique and independent and expressing what makes you different, but in a way that's very harmonious with having Venus there. So this is one of the ways that you can connect with Venus retrograding in Libra, and maybe do this while putting on some music. And maybe if you want to talk about relationship themes or Venus related themes or Leo related themes, that can be something that you can do. They say that when it comes to art, the colors that we choose, even if we're not aware of it, it helps us to psychologically process whatever challenges that we're going through. So this is something that you can do. If you are struggling with ego, maybe write out ego and then paint over it, and find ways to sort of like whatever colors you choose during this painting experience is something that you're meant to do. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can use this energy. But for me, I'm thinking about how it would be so fun to be able to do this as a way to connect with your inner child and alleviating sort of that pressure of having to do it in a way where you have to heal as though there's a trauma to process. Instead, focus on what makes it enjoyable and pleasurable. And if you're like me and you haven't really if you didn't have the opportunity to enjoy your childhood, really take advantage of transits that hit Leo Sun, Mercury, Venus and stuff, because this is very activating, and it traditionally rules the fifth house of being a child and connecting with that wonder. And this is really important that I think not enough people talk about, that's related to your success, because Leo rules the sun, or Leo is ruled by the sun, I'm sorry. And this is about your professional success and accomplishments. it's also about your it's about your creative intelligence. Oftentimes intelligence is associated with Mercury, and that's true, but that's more like your mental calculator. The creative intelligence of what makes you genius, what makes you brilliant in a way that's very unique to you. This is Leo. Your asset lies within your Leo. So with having Venus in this placement, this is the time to connect with that. And children are great with connecting in this way without realizing it, because they haven't been socially conditioned yet to have these insecurities. And this is why this is such a great time to celebrate. And I would go as far as saying that whenever there are some Leo transits, this can be the time that, not that you have to wait for this placements, those activations, but that could be a great time to connect with your inner child. So this is something that you can absolutely do in a way that's very fun. But if you do have things related to your childhood that you do want to heal outside of being playful and stuff, because Venus rules resources such as your family, you can take a look at Mars in Virgo right now, because Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, which is about trauma and psychological healing. So this is a great time to psychologically heal from problems that you've had, which is in conflict, which is Virgo. And this is a really beautiful way to use this energy, because Virgo is the second sign from Leo. So the second sign is about your resources. So a resource that Leo has right now is or not just right now, but in general, Leo's resources is Virgo. And we have Mars there. So right now, what can support Venus retrograding in Leo is to process problems, traumas, conflicts that you have in your life. You can also take a look at your Chiron for guidance here as well, because Chiron is the modern ruler of Virgo, and it's also about your unhealed wounds. And the degree that it's in tells you the age at which you experience that trauma. There's an activation. And so you can take a look at what that looks like. And because retrogrades are a time to reflect inwards, depending on the degree and your age, assuming that the degree of your Chiron is an age that has already passed for you, you can take a look and think about, what traumatic experience did I have during that time. So for me, for example, my Chiron, I believe, is in 27 degrees. So I can think about, what trauma did I experience when I was 27 years old? And those traumas that we experience are tied into our childhood as well. So you can also weave that in. If you don't remember what happened to you during that age, you can look at annual perfections. Annual perfections is where every year, at every age, there's a specific house that rules you, and that takes on special significance. And so, for example, for me, I'm 39 years old, and so the age 39 the annual perfection is ruled by the 4th house. And for me personally, I have Libra there, which means that I'm ruled by Venus. So this retrograde is more important for me than a lot of the other retrogrades. Basically, whatever your annual perfection is for that year, this tells you this is the planet that you want to pay special attention to, and that the transits are going to have special meaning and significance. So if you're a Cancer rising like me, and you have Libra in your 4th house, or you have Taurus in your 4th house as an Aquarius rising, this is going to be especially a powerful time to work on your Venus retrograde. So then things that can be tied to your family, if you are 39 years old, of course. So these are just different examples and ways that you can take advantage of this placement, and how you can connect with your inner child. And this is day 1 of the 40 days of self-love that I'll be doing for Venus retrograding in Leo. I'm going to be doing topics every day on how you can connect with this energy. And for the next 12 days, starting with the Leo, I'm going to be providing you with insights and recommendations on the best way for each rising sign to take advantage of this placement. So if you want first dibs on the best way for you to take advantage of this placement based on your rising sign, comment below with your rising sign. And I'll start putting, and I'll prioritize that for the next 12 days as I go through the different topics and themes that I'm going to be discussing. And there are going to be a lot of different topics that I have in mind. So for example, one of them is how you can reinvent and reinvent and automate your finances with Venus retrograding in Leo. And it's also going to be, I'm going to be using derivative houses, which is basically to say that not only do we have Venus retrograding in Leo, but we have Neptune retrograding in Pisces. Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, and so it's about financial fluctuations, while Venus is about finances. Now, the other thing about this is that Pisces is 8 signs away from Leo. And so right now, some of the best ways for us to work on our finances is going to be very Leo in nature. And reflecting on that during this retrograde is especially important. But also the 8th sign, the 8th house, is about reversals, and it's about other people's finances and resources. So this is an excellent time to look at what are some things that you can do in a creative, brilliant way that's best for you, where you can reverse your financial situation because of the energy of the 8th house and the energy of Neptune to increase your finances through other people's resources in a way that's automated, in a way that is less demanding, because that's the nature of Pisces and Neptune. So these are some examples that I was thinking about. I was also thinking about giving some insights on if you struggle with ego, how you can use this energy to redirect that, especially in relationships, for example. Because I feel like when it comes to Venus retrogrades, every astrologer is like, your old lover, your old flame can come back. And yes, they can. But honestly, I don't want to sit there and regurgitate a lot of the same information that's being promoted. I think that the information is extremely important and there is a lot of value in it. But time is the only unrenewable source of energy. So I don't want to monopolize your time telling you information that you already heard elsewhere. So I'm always thinking about unique topics, different things to mention that other people don't talk about. So if you have anything specific, comment below and let me know. But what I'm thinking is I might maybe talk about if in a relationship, like, you know, if there's one person that's a little bit more selfish and kind of dominates the space, how there can be a little bit more harmony and how you can collaborate more, because that's the energy of Venus. Some other things that we can talk about are, I want to talk about how the lunar nodes have an impact, because the South Node, which is an emptying out energy, is in Libra. And this is great news for people pleasers, because even though like boundaries issues is associated with Pisces, oftentimes people who are people pleasers have some prominence in their Libra, which is very much about wanting to keep the peace, right? And so that energy is emptying out, and things that no longer serve you are the ones that are getting released. And so as you let these things go, you can think about your values, what's important to you, and what is the best way for you to collaborate that's going to be harmonious. This is something that you can take a look at with the Venus with this Venus retrograde. And I think that this is especially important because, and I don't know if I'm going to include this in the 40 days of self-love series with the Venus retrograde, or if it'll be a separate video related to the lunar nodes. But another thing to really be mindful of is having the North Node in Aries. This is for people who don't have a healthy relationship with masculinity. If you're operating out of your toxic masculinity, there can be like an intensity and an outburst of this. So there are some insights that I want to provide about what you can do if this is you and you're the one asserting this, if you're on the receiving end of it, how you can manage those different things, you know, because there are things that I think people say and do without realizing that it's problematic, and there's an impulsivity. So there are ways that you can communicate to prevent anything being taken the wrong way. There are things how you can handle when something is being said in a way that's rude. And sometimes you might not actually be rude and someone is taking it that way because they're being like sensitive in a way that's actually how someone experienced it isn't actually what happened. And then there are other times where you're going to be in the wrong and you said some shit that you shouldn't have said and you were being insensitive. And so how can you resolve that? And if you're on the receiving end of it, how can you redirect and recalibrate? You know, these are some ideas that I have in mind that I do want to discuss. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But in this video, I hope you enjoyed getting insights on how you can reconnect with your inner child, some ideas that I shared with you on what that looks like, some things that you can do. And again, for the next 12 days, I'll be talking about the best way each rising sign can take advantage of this retrograde, starting with Leo. So if you want to know the best way for you to connect with this retrograde, comment below with your rising sign, and also share with me what topics you want me to talk about for the next 40 days during this Venus retrograde. Thanks so much for watching and have a beautiful day.